So if you can keep a little bit of wit about you and just a teaspoon of sarcasm, I can prove to you three things. Firstly, where the root of all evil lies. Second, what men amount to. And three, why men and women belong together and have to be equal for the world to run smoothly. So I know the three seem kind of out of place, but I promise you they all correlate very smoothly. So firstly, let's talk about where the root of all evil is. Right, so evil can be defined in many different ways, but I had to find something that could, not be debated very well. And to prove something, you don't need psychological statistics, you don't need opinions, you need actual proof, which would be math. Nothing can be doubted without a mathematical equation, right? You can't doubt theorems, or not theorems. You can't doubt equations. You can't doubt science. And so I started thinking, what could I use to quantify evil? What could I use to measure evil? And I started thinking, worldwide, right now, or countrywide, we think of Donald Trump to be evil, right? As a majority, we think of Donald Trump to be evil. Last year, the right-wing conservatives would have considered Barack Obama to be evil. 70 years ago, we considered Adolf Hitler evil. There's a common denominator there that we find that power was evil, because those men were all elected into office first, and so they couldn't have been evil, right? Because they were elected in office. But there's a saying in the scriptures. There's a scripture that says, "Absolute power corrupts absolutely," and so that word "absolutely" means that with the absolution of power, it's going to corrupt. No matter what, it's going to corrupt. So power is evil, but power can only be measured by one thing that I found, because power wasn't something I could just plug into an equation and say, this is the measurement of evil. But power can be measured by the definition of mercantilism that I found through the Eyes of the World social studies textbook. I found that through mercantilism, we find that the country with the most money has the most power. Right, and we find that with lobbyists, right, in our country too. Wall Street, people with more money to give to the politicians, they have more power. They have more power in what's going to happen. So I had money. Money is power, and power is evil. So money is something that's quantifiable. It's something that I can measure, that I can plug into an equation. But I needed something that it needed to be in at all times for it to thrive, because money in itself can't be evil. So I started thinking about something that my dad used to tell me. Growing up, he said, son, in order to have a successful relationship with a woman, to have a wife, you're going to need to invest two things at all times. You're going to need to invest money and time. My mom used to say something super similar to my sister. She'd say, baby girls, sometimes you're going to get down, and that's okay. And to get happy, you're going to have to invest two things in yourself. She said money and time. And so those two things work on both playing fields, right? You find that women, W equals MT of money and time. And so I had an equation there, W equals MT, but the problem was time couldn't be measured the same way that money could. It was quantifiable, but it couldn't be measured the same way as money. So they're two different variables, but we find through common phrase that time is money, and that's truer than we know. Because, when we work, we know for a fact what every minute we spend is worth. We know what every hour we spend is worth, whether it be 10, 20, 30, or $40 an hour. We know what every minute we're going to spend of our life is going to be worth. And with the cost of inflation and cost of living, an Oxford professor actually, wrote out an equation to prove that. He found that time is equal to our hourly wage divided by the cost of living plus the inflation rate. So he literally found that each minute we spend has a monetary value. And so that being said, I found that women equals MT, or W now, because time is money, equals MM. Okay, so women equals money, money. It's a lot of money. But then, if we simplify that, because we found money is power and power is evil, we find that W equals EE. But then we put those two together, because anything times anything is just, squared, so we find W equals E squared, right? And so if we want to simplify an equation, we take the, we don't want any squares in our equation. We want the simplest form of it. So to do that, all I had to do was take the square root of E squared. And when I did that, I found it. W equals the square root of evil. Women are the root of all evil. And all joking aside, I thought it was funny, but it wasn't real, because to do that to one side, you have to do it to the other side, because, and then it'd be the root of all women is evil, and that's not true at all, I know that. But I thought if I could find a way to simplify that, to get that square out in a better way, I'd have my answer. And I thought the best way to get something to the most simplest form is just to multiply by 0, because anything times 0 is 0, right? The problem was, I can't just plug in a 0, because women aren't nothing. So I started thinking about what's something that women need also, or they use also, that's nothing, And in my marriage and family studies, I have found that there's been a rise in the industrialized woman, meaning that women have been working more and more now than they ever have in history. Usually in history, they've been known to be the homemaking woman, right? They've been known to raise the kids. They've been known to cook and clean while the husband goes to work. But that's not the case anymore. Instead, they're rising and keeping at that same level the men aren't working, right? And you would think, with correlation, you would think that when you would find a rise in industrialized woman, you would think that you would find a rise in homemaking men, that they would keep up. But it's not the case. What you find is that women have carried that weight on their shoulders of homemaking. They cook, they clean, they take care of the kids. They're the nurturers, but now they're also the workers. And men are just staying the workers. They're not adapting to the world today. Which led me to one plausible answer. That men, since they can't adapt, amount to nothing. We're nothing. We're nothing compared to women. Men equals 0. Because women can do anything now that the men can do, but more. And so I plugged that into my equation, and now I've got W equals E squared times M, because I can plug that into the equation, because women give men purpose. At least for me, they give purpose. They try to be more than what they are, which is that nothing. Women give men something to add to boost them. And at the same time, men try to take away all bad from women, try to help them, and they become partners in life on both sides. And so I plugged that in. We got W equals E squared M, and then you got E squared times 0, so it's 0. And then I had it, W equals M, which is W equals 0. But I found the most interesting thing, that women equals men. Right, and we find that on both sides, that women and men have to be equal, for math to work. If you add any outstanding variables, +1 or -1 on the other side, if one's more and one's less than the other, then it's not equal. And it has to be equal. It has to be. And they have to go together. Otherwise, men are nothing. They don't get to be more than they can, and women are evil. But all joking aside, we need it to be that way. And as Latter-day Saints, it's our job to keep it that way, to keep the evil away, and to keep the equality, and to keep men and women together. And that's how it has to be. And if they are equal, we find peace in the universe, because math is the universal language.